All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hell Week. For lack of a better term, it is going to be a chaotic bit of price action here this week, right? We've got a lot of stuff on the docket. Um, Arguably, probably like a once in a decade type combo of information, right? We've got obviously the election coming up here today. We've got the kind of stragglers here of earnings, right? And then we have FOMC on Thursday. And so, I mean, there's a good chance, right, that the election result still will be unknown on Thursday as we creep up towards FOMC. That's going to create a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, the implied winner of the election is still kind of a coin flip, right? So that creates a lot of uncertainty. And then how markets are going to react, right, to these earnings catalysts continues to be a little bit challenging. So what that means for us, right, is that there are a lot, and I can't stress this enough, right, but there are a lot of distractions here for us. And generally when markets are giving us that much kind of, we'll call it news variance, tends to not be a scenario where you get very clean price action, right? Tends to be more of a situation where you get choppy, challenging, bouncy, whatever you want to call it, type PA, without getting a very clean or consistent narrative to fall in love with. So for me, right, a lot of what this week is going to be about is making sure that I don't fall for the trap of choppy volatility, right? So if I'm expecting that this week to not give me a very clean or easy narrative early on, I don't want to overestimate my ability to, basically interpret price action here perfectly, right? Obviously, it doesn't mean I'm going to ignore my system. I'm still going to trade my strategy, still going to trade my technique. I'm still going to do those things. But this idea that I could profit by playing exceptions to the rule here is like a very misleading way to kind of approach things, right? So last week we were green 4 out of 5 days because we traded our system, we played our technique, and we followed our rules. And this week, the market's going to try to make us feel as if breaking our rules is what's going to make us profitable. And so we need to fight back against that implied bias by being even more structured, right? Even more disciplined, even more resilient to those psychological highs and lows, and not give the market power to basically trick us into thinking that, hey, this time is going to be different. Oh, if I just chase this, oh, if I just chase that, I'm going to be successful. Fundamentally, you won't be. And the more that we fall for that trap, the more that we like happily build those bad habits, the worse things go. And generally it just ends up being, a bad situation, right? And something that we'll never find success off of. So for me, right, primary focus here this week, tunnel vision on the variables I can control. So how well am I following my strategy? How well am I mastering my risk management? How well am I thinking about my position sizing? How well am I obsessing over protecting my profits? How well am I thinking about price action objectively? And if I can do those things, then more likely than not, I'm going to finish off green. If I ignore those variables, I'm just going to exhaust myself, right? Drain my mental capital, put myself in situations where it's just impossible to be successful. So let's see how things kind of shape up here this week. We're going to get a ton of volatility. We're going to get a ton of potential price action. And we're going to get a lot of chop. So keep that mental capital, right? Priority number one. And I want everyone to like tattoo this on their forehead, right? So that it's impossible to ignore it. But it's all about not falling for the chop here, right? Not falling for the trick, not falling for the volatility, not thinking that, oh, if I make my stop losses bigger, I'm going to get paid out. Oh, if I size up my position here this week and catch that one big move, I'm going to make money. Stop with all of those limiting beliefs, right? You're going to lose money. You're going to blow your accounts if you behave that way. And so we need to fight back against that greed, right? Against those desires, and really focus on remaining in control. If we do that, we will crush it. If we don't, we will be crushed. I cannot make it any clearer here today. I'll be honest, I will not tolerate any of that BS here this week, right? We have to hold ourselves to a very strict standard here this week, this morning, right? And not allow ourselves to be tricked into thinking that I know better, or I'm going to get bailed out, or I'm going to do whatever. That will not be the case. So, not very often I start the week off with this serious tone, but I need to stress, right, that this is not a market this morning, right, this week, this next couple days, where you are likely to become, the richest person, right, in the world. You're more likely to lose money than make money here this week, and we need to fight back and remain in control if we're going to set ourselves up to be successful. So that needs to be very clear, right? Do not let your greed, do not let your ambitions, do not let your limiting beliefs make you forget that this volatility here this week is not designed to get you paid, right? So be patient, be disciplined, be structured with your thought process, and you will be fine. But if you start chasing price action here this week, you're screwed, right? So need that to be very, very clear here this morning. I need everyone to understand that that is the base reality. And if we build off of that assumption first, then okay, right? We can set ourselves up to either sit on hands, right, size down, look for deeper pullbacks, right, and increase our probabilities of being green. But if we're going to ignore those realities and we're going to chase trades like the market's going to want to make us feel like we should, and we're going to ignore risk management like the market's going to want to make us feel like we should, and we're going to oversize in a way that the market makes us feel like we should, then all we're going to do is increase our probabilities of losing money. So we need to do the opposite of those things here today, right? We need to do the opposite of the impulsive, what feels best type trade. And we need to really be deliberate and specific with our decisions if we want to walk out of this green. All right, so with that being said, right, let's start mapping things out here this morning. Let's figure out what we want to do, and let's put ourselves in situations where we are stacking up our probabilities. So good morning, Suresh, Salstein, Craig, Raim, Jeff, Steven, Tanja, Brian, Mike, John, Jeremy, Gabe, Dustin, Cordell, Greg, Kenneth, Jen, and Howell. Let's have ourselves a fantastic trading week here. And let's keep building up on what was an awesome week last week, right? Awesome week last week. So first things first here, economic calendar, right? Okay, we've got factory orders here at 10. Obviously tomorrow, election day, right? Monster session anticipated. So it's going to be a big one, right? And we're going to see tremendous amount of volatility, right, this week. Good morning, Brian. So guys, need to understand that our bias based on what the market is going to do is going to be to make us feel as if we need to chase and rush and ignore rules. And the only way we will make money is if we basically behave in the opposite of that direction here this morning. All right, so what's the count here on ES? Let's start there. Yeah, and it's kind of a weak 2 out of 3, right? Where did it reject that on Friday? Kind of. Where else, though, right? So if we're saying that this is getting stuffed, where did it get stuffed, give or take? Yeah, the psych level, the trend line, right? The previous point of resistance. So lower low, lower high, still telling us that it's a bearish kind of consolidation, right? So if we're going to have a trend bias, that trending bias is still more lower than it is higher, right? And then if we're going to get a bounce, well, it's got to be a fake out under 57.30, right? So see bears fail. And then back towards 5,800, right? Which is where we've seen bulls fail most recently. So we have a tighter tighter bullish range, probably an easier bearish range. And generally, right, when markets have inconsistent stories, that's generally a risk-off environment, right? Which means potential selling pressure. When you have a consistent narrative, right, and you're not worried about the headlines, tends to be a risk-on environment, which tends to be more bullish price action, right? We'll go 57.70, 57.80. And then to the downside here, right? Again, reject off of 5,800. So if it's done that here twice, right? Wouldn't be unrealistic to think that it could do so a third time. And then break down here, right? We're going to go 57.30, right, as our starting point. We go 57.40. And then, okay, right, 100 points mapped out. That's plenty of space to the downside. So let's see if it's got the juice pretty much here, right? Make sense? All right. NQ, what's the count? Yeah, inside bar spot on. But in general, right, very similar story to what we have on ES. It's kind of consolidation post trend line breakdown. So again, a big fake out off of 20,000, okay. But to the upside, right, probably more the path of most resistance than least resistance. Good morning, Topher. So then we're targeting 20K, right? Oh, sorry, this is the upside. Targeting pre-market high, 2,300, 2,400, right? And we can kind of go up towards like 28. Good morning, Luke. All right, to the downside here, right? We're targeting same plan pretty much, right? As Friday. Fake out at the trend line, break down towards 20,000, and then beyond. All right, CL, our big winner chicken dinner from Friday. Red candle, increasing outlier volume. Sorry, increasing volume, not outlier. It's 2 out of 3 here to the downside with volume. Now, what's confusing about this? Or what's, maybe not confusing, but what's the mixed bag story? So for sure, I mean, the gap up's definitely a concern, but it's a 2 out of 3 here to the upside with a higher high, higher low, and then, yeah, possible breakout here of this uptrend, right? So or this downtrend line, sorry, right? So possibly a new creation here of trending price action without us getting a very clear confirmation if that's actually the narrative. So because, right, it's that trend line breakout, that does give us a little bit of maybe flexibility in either direction. And the volume's not outlier, so we can get an outlier volume breakout, right? Maybe that then sets us up. So we want to have maybe just a tad bit of flexibility here. And then probably no dip buy, right? I'm probably just looking for a breakout above 72. So just a fake out through the opening range, right? And then a pop higher. And then a rejection, right, at 72, which is our plan here on Friday. Certainly sets us up for a nice continuation narrative down lower. So again, right, although it's 2 out of 3 here to the downside, there are bullish characteristics here, and contextually, we need to have a little bit more flexibility than maybe historically we'd want with that that pre-market count. All right, Apple, weak 2 out of 3 here to the downside. Sorry, to the upside with volume. So weak bullish price action, pretty punchy gap down, needs to break down here. Did a gap fill and breakdown. So again, this is a BB reversal setup or, right, a breakdown under 220. Okay, Tesla, right, now looking for that opportunity to do that gap fill trade. So 2 out of 3 here to the downside without volume. And we're looking for that breakdown here. Fill that gap lower towards 221. Okay, Microsoft inside bar. Looks a bit like consolidation, right? So it needs to break out above 416 or under 406. Okay. Amazon, 3 for 3 here to the downside. Maybe wants to do a bottom-up gap fill. And then to the downside here, right? Reject off 197, then break down. Good morning, Derek. Hope you're doing well. All right, sweet. AMD. So red candle, decreasing volume, baby gap up. So 1 out of 3 here to the downside. Kind of a trend line breakdown there. We need to break down under 140. I think if I'm going to be bearish for continuation. And then to the upside here, right, it's got to be like failed breakdown, then BB reversal type setup. If we look at it on the Bollinger Bands, we're extended at the lower end of these ranges. So let's see if we can get that reversal scenario coming together. Okay, NVIDIA inside bar. We're looking for a breakout over 138. right? Or a breakdown here under 132. I can maybe do like a 140 rejection instead of now a 137. Again, right, the general story that we have here today is one of consolidation, and it's kind of a mixed bag narrative here so far, right? So if we're being told that we kind of have a divergence between many of our leading names, that's setting us up, right, for a relatively choppy day. So again, right, control our expectations over how busy or how aggressive we need to be. If the market's not telling us that it's going to reward aggressive behavior, and we start behaving aggressively inside our accounts, all we're doing is setting ourselves up to finish the day disappointed, right? Broken, draining our mental capital, being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I gave up all this progress, right? Whatever it might be. And so we have to set our expectations over how the day is going to kind of shape up before we decide how aggressive we're going to be in the market. And then if we choose to ignore those expectations, right? We choose to ignore that positive kind of plan that we're making here in the morning, then we got to solve another issue, right? At that point, then it's like a self-control issue where I can't keep dipping my hand right into the cookie jar. I got to eat every cookie, and that's just going to make me fat, bloated, right? Whatever it might be. And I don't want to feel that way with my trading. Good morning, Ben. So here, still looking for that trend line breakdown here on the old meta. 2 out of 3 here to the downside without volume. Be a possible trend line bounce scenario. And then to the downside here, we're looking for a breakdown under 560. Okay. Netflix continues to consolidate here like a lunatic. So not much changing, right? 548 or above 769. Okay. Google, green candle, decreasing volume, gap down, right? So 1 out of 3 here. Filled its gap. So we're looking for that BB reversal setup potentially, right? Or a breakdown under 168. And then VIX, right? 22.63. I would anticipate this thing to probably climb up a little bit this morning. I don't know if we're going to get like a 30 handle. That would be pretty insane. But I imagine we're going to see, VIX continue to climb here and create a little bit of volatility. On Thursday, right, when we had a pretty volatile session, right, we actually got that range day. Ended up being a choppy trend day, right? It's a bit of an oxymoron. Where it wanted to fake us out, right, and then break down. So if that's the most recent example we have of a quote-unquote trend day, then we got to be very patient with our entries here today and not allow ourselves to be shaken out of whatever price action is available to us. So today, all about patience, all about not basically disappointing myself or disappointing the trader who I want to be. Today is going to be all about building positive habits and allowing those habits to take care of sort of our expectation of being profitable, right? The more that I can obsess over my rules and obsess over following my rules when it's challenging to do so, easier it is to then follow and profit off of them when it's no longer as difficult. But on days like today, right, where there's a lot of potential traps available to us, and then I get addicted to basically chasing the result versus chasing the process, then I set myself up for failure long term, even if maybe today won't be a failure, right? So everyone needs to make the commitment to themselves here today that they are going to behave in a way that will make them proud regardless of their P&L, right? So I'm not trading here today for a P&L result. I'm trading here today to follow my rules, to follow my process, to follow my structure. And I'm trusting that if I do that enough over the long term, which we have plenty of evidence of, that I will be profitable. And I'm believing that if I ignore those rules, ignore those processes, skip those steps, then all I'm going to do is set myself up to feel the pain of regret later on, either in the afternoon, in the morning, later in the week, right? Later in the month, and just see progress disappear because I'm an undisciplined, self-sabotaging trader, right? And we want to avoid those feelings of regret more than we want to avoid losses. That for me is fundamentally the most important thing to focus on this week. This is going to be a very much no nonsense week here, right? We cannot tolerate the nonsense this week. And I would ask that we all hold ourselves to that incredibly strict standard. And if you're struggling, right? If you're having a tough day, if you're feeling as if you need to rush into something, or whatever the negative emotion might be, remember, we are stronger as a group. We are stronger as a team. And you are not going to be the only one who is suffering, right? That feeling of chasing or that feeling of impulse. So drop me a message, right? Pop something in the chat. Ask for help. That is what I am here for. And I want to see you guys all win today, right? I want to see you all win this week. I want to see you all win this month. So let's build up those good habits. Let's kick some serious market butt. And let's have ourselves a ton of fun while we do it. And reinforce that self-belief that we know we need to be successful. So I'm looking forward to having a fun trading day with you all. And let's absolutely crush it. We got 3 minutes here to market open. So I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee. Spend a few minutes here visualizing a successful day. Visualizing me following my rules, executing my plan, following my process, and taking P&L off as my P&L is increasing. When I do that, I will be fine. If I don't, I will suffer the pain of that regret. And the pain of that regret is going to be a lot worse than the feeling of a small loss. So be back in a few minutes, team, and let's have ourselves a big, big day. Hey, good morning, laughing to the bank. Hope you're doing well as well. Good morning. Enjoy the West Coast, sir or madam. And let's see how the day shapes up, your team. Looking forward to taking advantage of today's volatility, but I am not in a rush, right? Any questions about this morning's plan, this morning's prep, anything like that? Good morning, Antonin. Okay. Big volume, right, to start the day off. At least on NQ. So that's going to be the early focus here. Again, guys, no rushing, right? No self-sabotaging today. If we can avoid that in general here this week, right? Avoid making the obvious greed-based decisions that cost us money, we'll do really well here, right? If we succumb to those bad habits or we fall for that trap, doesn't matter, right? What our win rate's going to be, or won't matter, right? How successfully we think we've executed our thesis. Having the direction right, but timing wrong means you're still wrong, right? So we got to make sure that we are remaining in control, not chasing dumb price action, and being deliberate traders, right? This game is too ruthless for us to expect to be profitable while being impulsive. Okay, we have a chance for this second 3-minute candle to be an of increasing outlier standard. Got a little bit of work to do, 30 seconds to go. We'll see if it gets there. Same thing with on ES. But NQ looks like the slightly better setup here. Early, might not get it now. So again, right, we got to be deliberate assassins today, right? Our goal is to be the sniper, not the machine gunner, right? To use a crude analogy. Okay, so decreasing volume, not chasing that here yet. I do not care that is making lower lows without me. It's got to follow my criteria to the T. And with the implied volatility that's in place here today, right? So we're flying higher here. We've got like 350 points of range, right? Expected on something like an NQ. So we don't need to catch a massive chunk of that to feel good about our trading, right? So we got to make sure that things set up from a risk reward perspective, that we get a good amount of price action. And okay, maybe it takes the longer time frames, and we have to wait, right, for price action to see it get stuffed, right? Whatever it might be. But there is no value in chasing here today, even if chasing would have made you money, right? Because those are the types of bad habits that are going to get punished relentlessly. So I would rather sit on hands, sit on my second most profitable position, right, which is not placing a trade, than I am interested in creating new bad habits that are ultimately just going to cost me double, right? Whatever I ultimately make. All I've ever seen is, okay, if I make big money chasing a feeling, awesome, right? That feels incredible. Like, I feel so good about myself in the moment. But then the next day, I'm going to try to chase that same feeling, and I'm going to lose twice as much as I made on that initial impulsive trade. And so I've definitely said this before, and I will say this 1,000 times again, but generally what feels best for our accounts in the moment is what's worst for our accounts long term, right? So if we cannot delay that gratification and we can't choose to play the long-term game, then trading isn't for you, right? If you need that immediate success and immediate P&L dopamine release, then you're in the wrong program, right? Because that's ultimately not something that will ever make you successful. So we need to redefine what a win is, right? A win isn't a P&L based outcome. It's how well did I behave based on how I said I was going to behave, and how well did I follow my rules based on the criteria that I followed. And it's also then realizing, right? This is a great Jim Simons quote, but I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. Don't know exactly the exact wording, but it's basically, my ego isn't good enough to think that I can override the system, right? So I'm not going to allow myself into thinking that, hey, I know more or I'm better than what my system is. Instead, I'm going to trust the system. I'm not going to override it. No matter how ridiculous it may feel, I'm not going to override the system. I'm going to play my technique. I'm going to play my rules. I'm going to swing at my pitches, and I'm going to ignore everything else. And if I don't get a trade here, no worries. If I do get a trade here, no worries. But I'm not going to trick myself into thinking that I'm better than my system. Because I'm not. If I was, I wouldn't have built it that way, right? If it was easy for me to be an impulsive trader, I would start every day the stream at 9:33 in the morning, right? If it was easy for me to make money while breaking my rules, a lot more traders would be profitable. So it's understanding that if you want to be in the top 1% of anything, you can't behave like 99% of other participants. And 99% of speculators in the market are unsophisticated gamblers, right? That's a gentle way of describing it. And those, if you're choosing to behave that way, the market will punish you, and it will not put you in a situation where it's easy to be green. Well, this is going to be one of the most interesting weeks that we're going to have in our trading careers here, Derek. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities where it's going to make us feel like we need to chase, right? So I need to fight back against that feeling here and be bigger than those emotions. Right? Price action is random until it follows my rules. Like, look at this. How frustrating would this have been? Not bad from crude. Yeah, we could definitely watch this. And ES and NQ may be giving us some reversal volume here. Ooh. Not a huge range on CL, which I would say probably my biggest issue. Not a tremendous amount of range. It's a good volume profile. Let's see how this thing closes. I would say not a good enough candle close. I'd pass that on to the 5-min. I mean, 5-min, you have a technical breakout here as well. Still gonna wait. Okay, no setups here yet. So in general here, team, right, the commitment that we're making to ourselves is that we are better than the thoughts that race around in our heads, right? And realizing that 95% of the thoughts that we have intraday about our trading or about the market aren't actually designed to make us profitable. All right, so CL continuing to look pretty optimistic here, right? Good volume, better candle shape. Crude on the 5, not so interesting. Realistically, probably going to be targeting 72, not that 2R range, right? And 72 is just the pre-market high, give or take. 71.82 is the pre-market high. So either looking for that pullback technique, right, or potentially the aggressive. Okay, so watching here very carefully, very closely, very deliberately. Stop loss of 34 as is. And an entry under 45. Now again, buy yourself time to make this decision. You could buy 4 contracts, right, out of 45 touch. Just watching here. Okay, so see if we can find step-by-step pullback here now, right? I mean, very patient here, right? Very, very patient. See, one thing I'm always paranoid about with crude is that early morning reversal. So just being cautious here, right? Being cautious. That's a decent bounce. 4 cents in a couple seconds. That's pretty good. See if we can see a step-by-step pullback here. We've got data at 10 a.m. Factory orders, I think, right? Okay, so again, still being cautious here, still being patient. But this is starting to behave maybe a little bit better. Long, Rusty? You're an NQ long? Okay. I mean, so far, no reason to jump in here yet. What was your confirmation, Rusty? Okay, so no setup here on crude, right? No setup. Yeah, I feel pretty good about avoiding this crude. Would have faked us out, right? Not a good feeling. I feel like sometimes CL is a better setup when it's like a little bit more mature. Like when the market's had an hour or so to digest, right? Everything's out of the way. Tends to be a little bit better. A bit of a nicer mover. Treats me nicer. Doesn't talk back, you know, things like that. Fair play, fair play. I mean, you're not in bad shape, right? You're not in bad shape. I mean, at this point, I'm not getting much evidence to be aggressive here yet, right? So, again, if I have to sit on hands here today, I'm so happy to do that. It's not because I'm nervous to trade, nothing along those lines. But I want to reward myself for following my rules and my process, not by chasing a P&L, right? If I start to chase that feeling or chase a P&L or whatever, honestly, my worst habits are, I'm going to feel good in the moment. Yes, like, oh my gosh, I made some money. But then when I get stopped out, right, breaking a rule, I'm going to feel twice as bad. So it's not worth it, right? It's like, it's a bad risk reward, for lack of a better term. So again, I'm fighting back against my inner gambler, right? That's what I'm doing. So I'm putting all my energy and focus into. And I'm just not allowing myself to do things that would honestly make me feel like an idiot. Because it's easier for the market to make me feel dumb than it is for it to make me feel smart. So I'm just not going to give it that power over me, right? I refuse. And again, I've missed out on nothing here so far. So at this point, probably gonna have to wait for construction spending, see if that creates some sort of move. Okay. So now possibly a little bit of a rejection here on CL. Feeling a little bit more like this might be the easier trade here today than it will be on the indexes. Not sure if that's just confirmation bias from Friday, or if that's legitimate. That's, I mean, a little breakdown, right? Maybe this is setting us up here. Failed breakout, rejection, high vol separation away from the range. Now you'd be targeting a move towards lows. This, I think, is probably the better setup here. So stop loss 71.24. Sell order, right? Let's be patient here again. We've already seen this thesis kind of potentially fake us out here in one direction, right? Without giving us an entry. So we don't need to jump into this and force it, right? Just because we want action. Need an entry above 71.12, right? Which would mean you're buying 4 contracts at that price. Obviously, a deeper pullback means you can buy more. Stop loss 71.24. No entry here yet. I don't know what it is. In the mornings, I'm so freaking cold. NQ might give us that breakout scenario. We've got a chance there as well. I would prefer on the 5. Oh, I hope so, Greg. This Visa stuff is a nightmare. All right, so watching closely here, right? Watching very closely. Okay, I mean, at 17, that would be 6 contracts. Right, at 16, that's 5. 18, let's wait. $2 jump. 2 cent sell, 1 cent jump. Let's see a couple cent sell here. No, not yet, team. Not yet, right? If this goes green, this has a really good chance to go increasing volume. Buy yourself time. Not yet. Not yet. Well, I'm trying to immigrate to the States, Joe. And away from Canada's repressive climate. Ain't that the truth, Bert? Ain't that the truth? All right, so starting to look good here. Starting to look good. So I'm setting everything up here now, right? Stop loss 71.24. Let's see if we can get a good entry here. Against a sell, right? We're going short, not long. You're going to see a tick by tick pullback here. If I have to wait on this candle, no big deal. NQ not going to give me an opportunity here by the looks of it. Okay, so gentle pullback here. Come on, come on. And if this breaks down without pulling back to my entry zone like it just has, now we can set it up stop loss 71.15. Right? And now we can, again, tick by tick pullback here. Above 71.06. Let's see if we can get it. Being patient here, being patient, being patient. Okay, now stop loss would have to be 71.16. Again, not missed out on anything here yet, right? Market's trying to fake us out. So fighting back, right, by basically delaying my entry as much as I can. So let's see a aggressive rejection here. I mean, that would be incredible, Nicholas. That would be incredible. I mean, I'm a pretty, I don't know if, I mean, Miami is awesome. One of my favorite places in the world. The party scene there is maybe a little bit too much for me. But just being somewhere where you could lounge by a pool and play lots of golf is worse things in life. Maybe on these longer time frames here, we could get some nice PA. Oh, look at this. Non-outlier volume since 942. That's a little bit concerning on ES. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we need to pull back into 71.06. Man, I looked away for just a second. That's mean. Okay, so watching closely here, team. Watching closely. All right, so I am in 7106, 5 contracts. All right, see if this thing can flush for me here. Like to see this thing close under 71. Let's see if it's got the legs. Come on, come on, come on. I believe in you, crude. So, a few more dollars here. Come on. Come on. This I don't like. Okay, die, die, die. We haven't made a lower low, so that's why I'm still surviving through this pullback, right? If we had made a lower low through 70.94 or whatever it might be, then yes. Yes, Sammy, right? Because what we did here on this trade was the aggressive entry technique, right? But if you're going to do the pullback technique, this would still be theoretically valid. Now, the question is, are you happy with the ferocity of this pullback? Right? So this would just be the pullback technique, right, versus the aggressive. So that's a decision you have to make for yourself. Truth be told, my bias here is going to be a little bit different because I'm already in a position. So I'm less enthusiastic about that. And truth be told, right, seeing it now pull back post holding under 71 doesn't feel fantastic to me. So I'm being a little bit cautious here. 3 cents offside. So I'd like to see this go in my favor. But yes, risk reward was still there. High volume breakdown away from the opening range. So yes, this would still be a textbook pullback entry. All right, now can I just survive that worst case scenario and really flush here with some aggression? Now, I haven't felt necessarily wrong here yet, but let's see it really break. Oh man, I'm freaking freezing. Maybe being cold-blooded when I'm trading isn't a bad thing, but man, I want to be warm. I can't stand the winter. Come on. All right, be quiet, Rusty. I don't need this FOMO here. Again, still just an inside bar here, but now closer to stop loss than entry. That 71 hold was like a little bit of a mirage. Come on. $10.15. Die. Come on, come on. Can I ask how, Sook? So I just got stopped out now. Right, can I ask how you got stopped out when you did? That doesn't seem super logical. Okay, but what was that price? Because when you got stopped out, price was 71.13. So I'm not sure if I understand where your stop loss was set. I mean, I don't think so, right? I don't think that's got to do with the delay. All right, so maybe we have an opportunity here to play NQ to the upside. Yes, not as appealing from a volume perspective. I mean, I don't know if it's going to get there on the 3. Oops. Okay, not outlier volume there, right? Kind of interested here. $40.25. This is really, really tempting here. Same thing with this 5-min setup. It keeps bouncing off of the previous high a day, which is why that's interesting. So broke out through that. Just below probably perfect volume here. Everything since then has been nearly the perfect reaction. Stop loss would be 55. Keeps holding. Okay, good decision to avoid this so far. I mean, trying to not chase, right? Really difficult. But trying not to chase. Okay, so again, stop loss have to be now 153.50 or 152.75. Be only a one contract position. Crude at 71.10. I mean, this 3-min might be a little bit better. Has a chance to go outlier. I mean, it's close again. pretty good. So stop loss now 80.50. You're looking for a tick by tick pullback. Now reset this, right? We're looking at something like this. Okay, so a little gentle pullback here. Gentle pullback. Come on. Into 197.50 or lower. It'd be one contract. Come on. Come on, 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 come on. Okay, 5 min back in play here. Increasing outlier. Maybe a slightly better look so you have a bigger risk-reward profile. Okay, so stop loss 191.50. Okay, a little bit lower now. What was it on the 3 min? Had to have been 180-ish. Now starting to maybe look like a rejection. It's going to be outlier volume with 50 seconds to go. All right, so let's start looking for this rejection thesis now. 2100 rejection. It's pretty textbook. Sorry, 2200, apologies, 2200. And then you'd be targeting low a day. So candle needs to close a little bit more like a rejection candle. But interesting. 20 seconds to go. Not going to close red. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. It's darn close. So we need some sort of bearish confirmation here, right? We don't have that yet. I mean, it feels like we've got maybe exhaustion, but no bearish confirmation. So any entry here, right, would be front running. Just setting yourself up to lose money. Not worth it, right? Because you're chasing a feeling, not chasing your setup or your system. And that's an expensive way to trade, right? Very expensive way to trade. These longer time frames might be what gives us that look. So again, right? No compromises here yet. As fun as it would feel, losing money does not feel fun, right? My poor hands. Oh my gosh. So no dice here yet. No dice here yet. It's trying to trap. Well, fake out lower low, right? And then now back up, testing that 2200. It's trying to trap here. Now crude starts to break down, of course. To the upside, not so much here. I don't like the failed breakout above 2200. That doesn't feel very strong to me, especially when we have a bit more of a bearish bias multi-day than bullish bias. Makes it hard to trust. Because if bulls were strong on that volume, why couldn't we hold above that? And when we had that short-term thesis, it was based off of it holding through that area. I might be back on the crew train, to be honest with you. Targeting a move towards like 70-50. This feels like it's probably the best. It's finally giving us that breakdown we kind of expected. So I'm more probably interested in this than anything else. Nice work, Arya. It's a nice win all of a sudden. Great job. So we're targeting 70-50 here, right? 70-50. So let's see here. I would rather the aggressive technique, right? Because I can go 5 contracts. NQ at 81, 83. Yeah, I feel like it might just chop about here at these highs for a little bit before we just like run out of steam and then flush. Crude might be... There's a chance to give me a 3-min reversal. Oh, I'm so cold. Why am I so cold? 22 stop loss, too big for my liking, right? I don't have that level of aggression in me. So I'd like to see this thing pull back, right? Break down, and then I need an 85. Okay, so setting it up. Stop loss at 70.96. You're looking at 4 contracts at 85, right? If you get a better entry, you're in much better shape. But we need to see it make a lower low here first and then pull back into that entry zone. This is not a opportunity to jump in here yet, right? We want to get that breakdown confirmation, not get stuck in some chop. Come on. You can dance if you want to. Alright, come on. Arya, if you're still in this position, I would start thinking about making sure that you're closing as your P&L is increasing here, right? So I don't want to see you deal with, you know, 4 green candles again for that next breakdown. I want to make sure that you're protecting, right, your position. All right, fantastic. Ah, cool. That alleviates a lot of my concerns. Yeah, if this goes a little inside bar and then breaks down, I have no issues with that either. Pretty unenthusiastic volume here. All right, so still waiting, team. Still waiting. It's okay, Ricky. $0.16 stop loss. That's pretty big. $130 a contract. Doesn't feel great. I mean, this low of this 5-minute candle has not broken yet, which is interesting. So it's almost like bull flagging there. If you can get a breakout above 200, maybe that's a scenario. But it seems to keep bouncing between, like, we'll say 196 and 165. So a little bit range bound until we get some sort of proven otherwise. It's not bad volume. 40 seconds to go, but needs to get over 200. Until it does that, it just kind of looks like consolidation, right? Crude, less appealing here. Again, right? Kind of rejecting at like that 196. Feels like maybe the only trade is to play that 10-point range. That's not great. Let's go back to crude here. 79. There we go. Again, 10-point stop loss here would be the move. High vol rejection. Breakdown under. You're looking at a 70, 84 entry or above. Stop loss at 94. Entry at 84, right? So that's 5 contracts you could purchase. So let's watch here. Okay, still watching here, still watching. $0.02, 6 cents. Could potentially do this. Body of the candle's bigger than the bottom wick. We need to make a lower low first, though, before that's appealing. So that would push my stop loss to be 84. Okay, now you need an entry 76, right? Oh, jeez. Can't buy a pullback today. Literally. Okay, so watching here, right again. It's got 6 cents to go, so it's 5 cents. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a chance. I could buy 6 contracts here, right? And be risking $480. And we're looking for a pullback into 76 or above. And a gentle one, right? NQ back up above 200. As crude's dumping, that's an interesting combo of information. VIX still in the 70s. $73. Come on, 3 cents. I believe in you. Okay, so watching closely here. $9.50, 10 candle, 10-minute candle would have just closed. $5-min as well. Not feeling super confident about that 84 as a stop loss, if I'm super honest. At least not yet. Because it's bouncing high or quickly towards it, right? So if I'm trying to be objective, I'm not sure if that's the price action I want to fall in love with, truth be told. Again, I might be getting a double top rejection here on the old NQ. Again, not the right candle profile to go short. Okay, good decision to not take this one short here yet either. Markets love a fake out here today. Interesting. Back up above 200. It's 10:52. So time of day is not super conducive for a 200 breakout, to be honest. The volume reaction at these highs not super conducive for a reversal scenario either. Might just have to suck it up a little bit here now. Again, kind of a weak reaction to this 2200, but not either strong enough to give me a breakout above, not weak enough to give me a breakdown under. Where's my rejection volume? the enthusiasm, right, of this sell-off doesn't match the enthusiasm of this candle. All right, same thing here. So it's kind of, I don't want to say confusing, but it's like, what are you doing? Again, not enthusiastic enough to trust. Not bearish enough to want to go after it to the downside. I feel a little bit like I'm in no man's land. Just a little bit. And how's the team feeling today? Excuse me. Yeah, seems like, I mean, we're working really hard to not do anything. That's kind of unfortunately the feeling here. I mean, volume, but not anything significant. This feels more like it's the right, to the downside's maybe the better setup here, but I do not have confirmation. So, best position, I keep talking myself basically out of trades here, which is frustrating, but necessary. Decreasing. Do I? Could I? Should I? Feels really like my heart and my brain are telling me two different things here. So I'm not going to reward my heart. I'm going to reward my brain, right? My heart's telling me chase, 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 chase. My brain is telling me, Michael, sit on hands. Don't be an idiot. Why lose money? The only thing that could maybe convince me otherwise is crude, right? Because crude we've had At least strong volume signals, right? Strong volume profiles. Keep getting faked out. I mean, this would be setting up possibly as that fake out entry technique. 18-cent stop loss is 180 bucks a position. You're looking at 2 contracts. No offense, that juice isn't really worth the squeeze. An 84 again here could be maybe a little bit better. But again, I'm not sure if that juice is worth the squeeze. Where is the volume today? I think at some point, if I ever officially lose my mind... Oh, 100% correct. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's 11:02, so it's outside of the kill zone now. But if I ever officially lose my mind, I might make a children's book about day trading, Dr. Seuss style. Oh, where the candles will tell you to go. Hey, not nice work, Rico. Maybe now we're starting to get it's outlier volume here to the upside on this 200. Again, time of day is a little bit suspicious here. Don't like that little fake out higher first and then break down. The only thing I think I could be convinced of here is a mean reversion setup. Because time of day, it's 11:03. Historically, not a great time to get breakout trades here to the upside. But I'm also getting no information that indicates like reversal here yet. So I might just have to eat the 500 bucks today, which is fine. And I think there's been a lot of opportunities here today to get like tunnel vision and hyper zoom in on stuff, and I haven't done that. Huh. I don't trade DJT. I'm sure the circuit breakers will be set up well for it on Wednesday. And I'm sure the premiums are through the roof. Oh yeah, the premiums, yeah, they're probably crazy. If you're betting on Trump to win, there's probably more efficient markets to do it than that. Yeah, we've got pretty poor range here so far today too. Inside bars everywhere, right, on the indexes. And I don't think I've seen anything that indicates non-trending PA here. Sorry, non-consolidation PA. I'm not sure if I've seen anything that's like telling me it's a trend, it's a trend, it's a trend. So if I'm trying to be objective, I would say things look slower than anything. What's its ticker, Oz? You know, I'd probably want to see lower than that. So your point of confluence, probably, never mind, that 157 makes sense. Trend line bounce, bit of a channel maybe as well. So I see that, makes sense. No, singular trades rarely will make you feel rich. It's the combination of hundreds of good decisions, right? Doesn't matter if you're a day trader, a swing trader, a prop trader. One bad decision can cost you your account. One good decision can't make you your account. So the intraday risk reward, right, is a little bit skewed. Excuse me. I get it. My biggest concern here now at this point, though, with crude and like pretty much everything in general, is we're just outside the kill zone, right? So historically, you tend to not make lower lows after 11 a.m. or higher highs and sustain those higher highs or sustain those lower lows. So it kind of feels like it's a lack of momentum here. Yeah, I mean, most likely, like, 63 or 64% of the time, the lower day or high of day is made within the first 2 hours. Then the next most likely time is in power hour, right? So I'm not sure if I've seen anything here that like indicates on crude that we have like outlier price action or outlier conditions. On NQ and CL, I was looking at this 30-min time frame, and like on NQ, I couldn't find many examples where the first 4 candles of the 30-min are all green on the day. So that's what I was looking for there on the previous, because that's like a little bit of an outlier, maybe bit of price action. And so we're going back to like early August, right, for when that's the case, and then it kind of drifted higher the rest of the morning. And 3, and then sell off. Like I've seen. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit barely green. So like the examples I have of this type of price action in the morning, not super indicative. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it kind of chills for an hour and then moves. So I'm not convinced that I have anything here outlier that indicates I need to be aggressive, or anything that indicates anything other than just consolidation here on the day so far. It's not necessarily I'm looking at reversals here. I don't think I'm looking at anything here at this point. I don't think I have any evidence to suggest I should be aggressive. Yeah, I just don't know if I see anything here that indicates I need to be aggressive here, team. Sounds good, Mike. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. Any questions here, team? Any questions? I don't see myself placing any further trades here. I think at best we're stuck. At worst, we're consolidating. Which is essentially the same thing. it's going to be a chaotic week, right? So protecting our mental capital here this week is priority numero uno. Everything else is just noise, right? Yeah, I don't think I missed anything here. So final call for questions here, team. Final call for questions. Again, I think most likely setting up here for mean reversion, but not enough enthusiasm to make that A+. So it would just be mentally draining action here. And I'll pass. I'll just pass. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. All right, team. Well, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. One trade here today, one small loss. So, okay, fine. Got a little bit shaken out before it ended up breaking down. It's a bit frustrating. That's the way it goes, right? Didn't compound my misery here. Didn't compound mistakes. Didn't do anything stupid. Nothing there that I really potentially regret. Feel like I talked myself off the ledge here, primarily, right, when things did set up or things did start to move. So I'm pretty good with how things went here today. Good process day more than anything else, and I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. So same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. And then it's going to continue to be a chaotic week here. So I'm sure we're going to have plenty of opportunities tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we'll see how things shape up, right? It's all about protecting that mental capital here this week. Literally the only thing that matters. And we'll see how things go from there. So have yourselves a great one, team. Looking forward to catching with a few of you here in our one-on-ones later this afternoon. But in the meantime, have yourselves a great day, and we'll talk soon.